stamped the light bulb poppies onto some card using this stamp set by Chocolate Baroque. It's called Punky Flowers. It's one of my favourite ones that I've bought recently. And I'm going to be using Inktense blocks, like watercolours really. I'm just going to wet my brush and add some colour to the block, and then just use the paints as you would watercolour paint or acrylic paint. And I'm just going to work my way through to paint all the designs. I really like poppies, and as everybody knows, they're a symbol of respect for the people that were killed in the war. Every November here there's poppies on sale for people to wear pinned to their clothes to remember all the soldiers that have been killed in the First World War and the Second World War. But this year, at the moment, we're all commemorating the anniversary of 100 years since the beginning of World War I. I'm now going in with the darker colour on the back edge and the inside of the poppy. And now I'm doing some lightning with some orange and some yellow, just to get the variations of shades into the poppy as you would have while they were blowing around in the field and the light playing on them. I've painted the inside of the light bulbs with yellow, and then, as you'll see, I go in with a bit of orange just around where the filaments of the bulbs are to darken it down and give it a bit of a glow. Once these light bulbs were dry, I went over them all with glossy accents to give them a glass finish. I don't think I showed that in the video. Here I'm going in with a bit of orange, and then I go back in with some yellow just to darken it, lighten it a bit. Now I'm going in with the first shade of green on the stalks. I start off with quite a dark green, and then I'm going to add some olive green to give it a bit of a two-tone. Now I'm using my Faber-Castell Pitt pen. It's a black one with a brush tip, and I'm just going around all the stamped black edges just to redefine them a bit more as they got dulled with the paint over the top. And now I've got a silver gel pen, and I'm just going around all the ends of the light bulbs and the joints of the leaves to make them look metallic. This is a bit of a steampunky tulip. And now I'm fussy cutting all of the images out. I'm starting on the background now, and I've got my piece of card here, and It's a piece of lightweight chipboard actually, and I'm just painting the first coat with white gesso. And now I'm going in with some Paper Artsy fresco finish paint in Beach Hut, and I want it to have a sort of distress look, so I'm just spreading it out really thinly so that there's still quite a bit of the white sort of showing through in places. The next thing I'm using is some Ranger archival ink. I think it's ultramarine, and I'm just going over with a script stamp over the whole of the canvas. You can hardly see the script, but it just gives it a little bit more dimension. These archival inks as well are permanent when they're dry, so it won't start running when you put any other medium over the top. Now I'm using some colour box chalk ink in white with my favourite one from my Jofi stamp set, the crosshatch, and again I'm going all over the canvas with that to add a bit of texture to it. I then dried all this with a heat gun before I went on to the next stage. Now I've got some black Liquitex ink, and I'm using another paintbrush just to tap so that I get small splatters of black all over the canvas. Once that was dry, I started to decide where I was going to place my images. Some of them I cut up so I could insert the small pieces in behind other pieces, just to make the canvas full and also to give it a bit more interest than the way that they're actually laid out with the stamps. It took me quite a while to decide where I wanted everything, but once I was happy with it, I started gluing it down. To begin with, I'm gluing down the pieces that fit behind the image, as then it's easier to fit the other pieces over the top. You don't have to peel them back up again to try and slot the others under. I'm using Claudine Helmuth matte medium. I really like the texture. It's very thick and it holds very well. Okay, so everything's stuck down now, and I have now got a Spectrum Noir pen in yellow. It's the CT3, I believe, and I'm just highlighting where the beams of the light would be. As I go on, I decide that I didn't really like the effect of it. It wasn't showing up that well, and I felt like I needed a bit more of a solid outline rather than the lines that I'm drawing there. So in a minute you'll see I go back to the Inktense blocks again and make myself a watercolour wash with the yellow, and go back over these again, and it sort of adds a nice bright halo round, and then I was happy with how it looked. I really love those Inktense blocks. The pencils are wonderful as well, but the Inktense blocks are really good for this sort of thing. And then you can either add the water to them as they are in the tin, like I'm doing now, or you can take them out and actually draw with them and then water them down with a water pen. It just gives you, the blocks give you that bit more freedom than the pencils. There, you can do the same thing with the pencils and wet the brush and then rub it against the nib of the pencil, but the blocks, because they haven't got the pencil casing or any paper on them, it's a lot easier to use them like watercolours. Now I'm using a black Spectrum Noir pen, just to go around and put a black border all around the edge of my canvas. It just, to my mind, finishes it off nicely, the edges. I always like to have a bit of a frame. So that's what we've got so far. Now I'm taking a dark grey Spectrum Noir, it's the IG10, and I'm going around all of the flowers one by one to create the shadow behind and make them stand out more. They actually ended up standing out really well, and the whole page looks quite 3D. Okay, now I've got my Faber-Castell Pitt pen in white, and I'm just adding a highlight here and there onto the bulbs. I wrote my title on my computer and then printed it out and cut it up into the individual words, and here I'm going for the placement. Once I'm happy with it, I'm using my Claudian Helmuth matte medium again to glue each one of them down. I found that if you want to make the background of the words in a colour, as I've done there in yellow, that it's better to actually use the printer to print the yellow rather than use another marker or something afterwards, because the printing of inkjets is water soluble. So if you wet it again with the marker or anything afterwards, then the ink starts to run. But doing it this way, it doesn't. And then I found as well that once it's stuck down, if you just dab over the top with some more matte medium, but don't actually scrub it down, or paint it on, again, your letters won't run. Now I'm going around with a black Pitt pen just to outline the sentiment and make it stand out a bit more. I've matted some paper onto black card, and then I've gone around the edge with a yellow marker so that it matches with the yellow of the light bulbs and the sentiment, and then I'm matting it onto there to give it another nice dark black border. And there we have it. So I hope you enjoyed watching me make this, and thanks for watching.